That's a good one for these waters, isn't it, Tofield?
Now that is a nice Pickwick smallmouth.
O'Neill Outside with Travis Johnson is presented each week by Works Power Share. Share batteries, save money.
Hello again, everyone. I'm O'Neill Williams, and welcome to our program. Over the last dozen years or so, I've been privileged to get to go to Carroll Lake Lodge. It's in Ontario, Canada. It's just an adventure. Flying out of Atlanta to Minneapolis and then on to Winnipeg and then taking a truck and then you go to a fly out. It's just wonderful. Catch fish? Indeed. 100 a day, 125. How many do you want to catch? And then you have a great shore lunch. You need to do this now. Carroll Lake Lodge, and you'll find out the telephone number, and I'll bet you want to go. I'll be going back. I know that. Travis and I will. Now, what I want you to do in today's program is find out about this place where we are, the lake, and so that you can feel comfortable going to a place like this and have a fishing adventure. Now, this is a little guy right here. It's a walleye. World's record is in the territory, 27 pounds. And just use a little Roadrunner jig and a minnow. Like that. That's a small one, but it's according to how many you want to catch in a day, 50 or 100. On the next fish, I'll tell you about where we are. Carroll Lake is absolutely full of fish. My favorite fish is this guy right here, the walleye. Carroll Lake is 12 miles long, 6,000 acres. And this is the best tasting fish in fresh water, is that guy right there. That is a walleye. Now, the lake and Carroll Lake Lodge is a great place for you to go. Take a kid. Think about taking a youngster and catching 50 a day. Wouldn't it be great? And I'm gonna put him back. Fantastic. If you can stand it, I can stand it. Just hold on. I'll bet you in just about another minute, I'll have another one.
O'Neill Outside with Travis Johnson is brought to you by your Southeast Toyota dealer. Let's go places. Fire Aid. Don't fight fires, extinguish them. Bojangles' famous chicken and biscuits. Year One muscle car parts. And by the Georgia Department of Tourism and Economic Development.
Throughout the months of early June, July, August, even into the 1st of September, you can catch just hundreds of these fish every day, and they're real easily done and they taste great. Now, Carroll Lake Lodge is open, as I said, for about 3 months a year, and the website's going to be on the screen. I'll say that over and over and over again. I've been visiting here since the middle 90s. I've been here probably 16, 18 times, and usually it's a group of us, maybe 6, 8 people, maybe 10, and generally we'll, we'll catch, in 3.5 days, we'll catch somewhere around 3,000, 2,500, maybe 3,000, just a tiny little Roadrunner. All you do is just put it down there and they'll bite it. The lake freezes probably 8 feet thick in the winter, so it's not something that you can do in the winter time, but boy, it opens up, and wow, is it a fabulous fishery. Over the years, I've probably had as guests maybe 40 or 50 people over the years, and everybody just really whacks them every single time. As soon as the ice breaks up, in say about the 1st of May. Then the walleye and northern begin their spawn, and you go up the rivers and the creeks. Now let me give you kind of a layout here. We're in Ontario, close to Manitoba, and all these aren't dams, these are natural lakes, and this is the Canadian Shield. And probably 60 million years ago, that's when the great glaciers moved all the way from the Arctic all the way to Indiana, Ohio, and that's what made the Great Lakes. And it scoured all the land off of these hills here. And so there's a lot of rock and vegetation. Now recently, in the last, prior to our getting here this time, during the spring, there was a huge fire here. And there's a story to tell you about the fires. The pines here in this area, the pine trees, the pine cones on those trees do not open up and release their seeds unless it's in a fire. The pine cones are so tightly bound that they will not open up. Oop, I'm putting you back. Okay. You really are fortunate I'm not eating you. So when there's a fire, the pine cones burst open. So all of this, and when we flew in yesterday, you can see thousands and thousands and thousands of acres that have been burned. But they are already rejuvenating, they're already reestablishing, and they're already growing grass, and these pine trees will have released their seeds, and it'll all be just like it was in about 50 years. One of the absolute treats on a trip to Carroll Lake is the gathering at noontime for a shore lunch on freshly caught walleye. Be sure that you do that during your trip. There aren't any reservoirs or dams. All of these waters, all these lakes, all these streams, they download into Lake Winnipeg. In the early part of the year, and I've been here in June, here we go. In June, early June, late May, the water's really high, and you can go into the rivers that feed the lake where they exit the lake. And you can just catch them like mad. I know Travis and I came up here a few years ago, went into a great place. It was called Moose Calf Creek. We found it on the map and said, well, you know, we got to go in there. With a name like that, we have to go there. And there were so many northern pike there. We were throwing spinnerbaits and spoons. There were so many northern pike there that we caught 35 in a row. We caught 35 northern pike on 35 casts. That's the kind of place this is, this lake in this area of Canada, and that sort of thing can be done because there's nothing special about our fishing abilities. I can tell you that right now. We're just average guys. But this is not an average place.
Visit this website to plan your Ontario fishing trip.
Like this one right here. Now your equipment for a trip like this is the following. For the walleyes like this, light line, 6 and 8 pound test mono, relatively light rods, spinning reels, and Roadrunner lures, minnows. They'll have some at the lodge. Now, the thing that you can't do without here is some good mosquito spray, or better yet, look, bug ban. And let me tell you, the mosquitoes here, you think wherever it is that you live, you've got mosquitoes. These up here, these are professionals. You know what I mean? And I can tell you without a doubt that I can go the entire 4 days. Ooh-wee. I can go the entire 4 days and I will not be bitten by a mosquito as long as I have the bug band on my cap or on my belt buckle, on the belt loop. We've been at this now for about 45 minutes, and I think we've caught maybe a dozen, one every 3 or 4 minutes. It's really tough. I'll get a minnow. There's your bait. Put it down there and you'll get bit. Carroll Lake is in the Woodland Caribou Provincial Park. And as I had said, all these lakes are connected by rivers and they all drain. Now, there's a current through all the lakes. There's always a current. And there's a place that we call, it's one of our favorite spots, called the North Narrows. In the evenings after supper, you can go to the Narrows and there'll be 5 or 6 or 8 boats from here over there. And in 2 hours, 5 boats will catch 200 or more. One of the things that you'll want to do in these waters, in Carroll Lake and others, a terrific sporting fish is the northern pike. And he's fun because you get to cast into the weeds and cast into the lily pads, and from time to time, oh man, you will be fortunate enough to catch a real whopper. Let me show you one I caught today, earlier today. I love this, I swear. I think he swallowed my spoon. Look at the size of this guy. Okay, where's, oh my goodness. Let me, it's funny how these nets just appear when you're out here by yourself. I can't get him in the net. Okay, that's the critter of the day right there, I believe. Let's see. Spoon with a little trailer. Let's see if I can get him measured without. That's about a 36, 37 inch, maybe something like that. That's about a 30, I'll tell you in a minute, it's about a 36 incher. Let's see if I can put him back over here and get him to swim away. He's tired, so am I. All right, we got him, Dakota.
Yep.
Come on, son. There's nothing like northern pike to stretch your string. and you need to give it a try. That was a good one. Here's a great tip from TJ, and it's very refined. When I fish a new lake, and I tell people often the best thing to do is go up the river. Just get into some current, because the fish are shallow and they're always there. They don't know that there's a lake downstream. If you're fishing in current, if you use a straight head jig instead of a round head jig, you're being more contact with the bait instead of putting a slack in the line, and you'll feel more bites and catch more fish. And that is a really refined tip from TJ at True Turn.
We have more with O'Neill and Travis, but first, let's thank these sponsors. Your Southeast Toyota dealer. Let's go places. The Whitetail Institute of North America. Research equals results. Tough Shed, premier builder of sheds and garages. Check them out at toughshed.com. And by Southern Link Wireless. Now join O'Neill for this week's Big Green Egg wild game and fish recipe.
Today's recipe on the Big Green Egg calls for a fish chowder, which you'll use, if you will, before eating other fish and other things. Now, I've put in the Dutch oven, I've cooked bacon, and I have the bacon drippings in there with onions, and I've made a roux, if you will, or I'm making one now, and I'm going to put in some chicken broth and clam juice. Sounds horrible, doesn't it? Well, it's not. I've got to mix some flour in here and get it up to thicken it up. And I need to mix that very well. Now, my good friend from Boston would call this fish chowder, but it's not. It's fish chowder, okay? Now, it's mixed well enough for me now, because I've cubed up six potatoes. And they go in, and they'll cook for about 5 minutes until you can tell that they're done. And the beautiful thing is you get to do all this on the egg, and I'll show you the next step in 5 minutes. And it's really going to be good. What you'll have to do is to make sure that the bacon and the onions are stirred in completely with the potatoes as they cook, and it really does look good. Now, the fish. Now, you can use any fish. This is some crappie, and just for the sake of mixing the flavors, I'll also put in some grouper. Mix this up thoroughly, and in 7 minutes, you'll have a terrific fish chowder. It's about $350, $375 for about 7 minutes. That should do well for you, and it'll keep, and I'll just bet you that when this is done, this is what the crew will eat today and all day. I'll show you in a moment. Now, I would tell you that you should add half and half, quite a bit of it, at this point to mix it after it's been cooking. When indeed the truth is, when I made the recipe for you and mixed it, I forgot the half and half. So I'm adding it now, and you will want to do so before you put the fish in. So now you have a mystery to look up at O'Neill Outside for the fish chowder. You're going to love us for this one. Fish chowder. Bacon, onions, all the great stuff. Potatoes. How can you possibly miss? Don't worry about the drip. It's all right. It's O'Neill doing it. What can I tell you? One more. Oh man, look at that. See, put it in a bread bowl, really make it fancy. Okay, pepper. And some onions. And you're all set. Want the recipe? I bet you do. O'NeillOutside.com, BigGreenEgg.com. Fish chowder. Big Green Egg, the ultimate cooking experience. There's so much more that's connected to a trip like this. Getting in the float plane, flying out over the lake, watching the countryside as it all goes by for a 45-minute trip to the lake, landing there and knowing that there's probably no one else at all on this lake that day. It's got a special air to it. Love to hear it sing when it goes through the water. I think I can get him off without taking him out. Carroll Lake from about the last week of May, and I think they closed the lodge about the first week of September, something like that. How about that, Dakota?